Hello, Cape Cod Landscape Association. I'm Zeke Cooper, and I want to say a big thank you for trusting me enough to listen to me and have me on your show. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I really appreciate the opportunity. A big thank you to Tom Ewing. I'm not there live right now, but Tom Ewing and I have done a lot of talks all over the country, and he always gives me a great introduction. And I know he probably did again. And I want to say, Tom, you're one of my favorite human beings on this planet. And thank you very much for everything you've done for me, being such a great friend and mentor. And so, again, guys, I'm Zeke Cooper. I'm a landscape architect based in Western North Carolina, just a redneck from the mountains. But I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to work on some pretty cool projects and talk to a lot of different people about those projects. I started out, went to school for business law, hated every minute of it. And I said, I just cannot do this. I've got to do something I enjoy. So I said, hey, I'm going to be a landscape architect. So I transferred to the University of Tennessee, stayed there for quite a while. My dad said a lot of people go to school for 10 years. They're called doctors. Well, I didn't get a doctorate. I just got a master's degree. Then I came out of school and started a business as a landscape architect. And that led me to some pretty cool endeavors, which I'm going to show you guys right now. So bear with me. I've been doing Zoom calls every day for a year, but it still is kind of crazy and stuff goes a little wonky at times. So let me make sure I get this right. Share the sound, optimize for video clip, share my PowerPoint, start the PowerPoint. I don't know if you can see my little video of my face still up there in the screen, but I hope you guys can hear me. So again, Zeke Cooper, you can go to my website, zekecooper.com. Feel free to contact me at any time. And, I'm going to talk about how we beautify a major resort. I've been very fortunate to work on some pretty cool resorts. And so the first one is, well, my computer is going to work for me. There we go. So there's over here in Western North Carolina, in the mountains where I'm from, there's a resort called Harris Cherokee Casino Resort. I grew up in Cherokee, North Carolina, on an Indian reservation. It's the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians owns the casino, and that's where our reservation is. And a lot of stereotypes about Indians these days. Some Native Americans, the out west Native Americans, and some of the ones up north where you guys are wore headdresses and dressed like, you know, these guys. We did not. Cherokees did. We didn't have headdresses. Um, this is not an Eastern Band of Cherokee, but if you come to Cherokee, you might walk in a gift shop and they'd be selling this, but that's not us either. We didn't have teepees. Another big misconception about Cherokees and Southeastern Indians. This is Plains Indians. We lived in these things called longhouses, so that's not us. We didn't have totem poles. That's Pacific Northwest. Everybody thinks all Native Americans kind of had the same thing, but that's not us either. So, okay, Zeke, well, what do you have in Cherokee? I mean, who are Cherokee? We have casinos. And I usually get a good chuckle out of that joke. My wife would be rolling her eyes, so I'll give you guys just a second to compose yourself from the laughter from that from that little joke. But all jokes aside, Cherokee, we've been very fortunate to have a couple great casinos in Western North Carolina. I know there's a lot of Native American casinos up where you guys are from, in the Northeast. But our casinos have been very popular because there's not a lot of competition in the southeastern United States, which leads to, how am I involved in that? Well, I started a business right out of school about 2007, which was a great time to start a business, right at the beginning of the recession. So, we struggled for work, looking for work. I wanted to go back home and have my business and do, some culturally sensitive and historically important landscape architecture and site planning and site design. And so I was just out begging for work. The casino was in the middle of a big expansion at the time. They had just kind of started the structure of the building. And so I went up to our casino and just kind of started begging for work, and I got offered a job. I took that job, and that job was at Harris Cherokee Casino Resort. It's a $1 billion property located in the mountains of western North Carolina. And I came in right in the middle of a $700 million expansion project. And they didn't really have any landscape architecture, landscape design plans at that point. So me being a landscape architect, I was all of a sudden the expert for everything outside for this massive resort. I had 26, 27 people that were reporting to me immediately. I was responsible for all the design, maintenance, installation, everything of the landscape, all the cleanliness, all the roads, trash, parking decks, all of that stuff. When you walked outside the doors, it was my responsibility. And everybody that worked for me was about anywhere from 6 to 10 years older than me, and they did not like that. Who's this guy right out of school that thinks he can come in here and run this show and do all this? And I made every mistake in the book. I mean, if there was a big old book of managerial mistakes, I made them. But looking back on it, we built an amazing team at Harris Cherokee. That group really rallied around me and really helped me become, a really good manager and director for that property. And we did some pretty amazing things together. And I will always be grateful for that original crew, the crew that's still there now, and for all the management at Harris Cherokee for giving me that chance. So just to kind of give you an idea, there's 1,000 hotel rooms there on the right. The casino's in the back left. This casino has the biggest gaming floor in the entire Caesars brand, so it's pretty massive. During the construction, we constructed a 30,000 square foot green roof. It's pretty cool. It's over a porte-cochere, which was always kind of weird to me because I'm like, a green roof's supposed to cool a building, but we're cooling a porte-cochere. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Really cool feature. It's about 2,000 square feet. It's got about 40 different varieties of sedums on that roof. And as you can see, that roof is sloped. As a landscape architect and a designer, I think this green roof is like one of the coolest things ever that I've got to do in my career. I got to be a part of this, got to design it. I got to, specify the plants, design the irrigation, oversee all the construction, all of that. It was so cool. But then as a designer, all of a sudden I had to take that hat off and I had to put the management guy hat on. So then I had to learn to take care of this with my crew. As a designer, it was great. As the guy that was responsible for taking care of this, complete nightmare. It's all, it gets really hot on that roof. There's a lot of glass. The microclimate, would change some stuff and make it really hot. It's all sloped, as you can see. So we always had issues with water, but over time, we figured those out, figured out all the safety stuff and taking care of it. And it's a really cool feature for the property. So, green roofs are what they are. That the main thing to remember is whenever you're designing, you're saying you're going to do a green roof is how am I going to take care of it? So this is a picture taken. The casino went through this massive construction project and everything was, we got to get done. We got to get done. We got to get done because every day it's not open, you're losing potential revenue. Well, everything inside starts getting done. Of course, the landscape's the last thing that always happens. So this is a picture of that porte-cochere area. You can see the green roof. This is on a Friday afternoon. We were having our grand opening on a Monday. So this is Friday afternoon, and we're having a grand opening ceremony starting at like 3 p.m., on Monday, 2.5, 3 days from now. So I'm pretty proud of this. So this is that Monday morning. This is the grand opening. Now there's somebody sitting there at their computer going, well, he planted those river birches way too close. And you're correct. They're about 10, 12 foot on centers. They're way too close for river birches. You're going to see some oaks in a minute. You're going to say the same thing. But you got to remember, as a landscape architect and a crew at a big resort like this thing's opening up. It's going to be 24/7. We have to create a show that immediately looks like it's filled in. It's been there a long time. So all these plants, you can see a lot of the hydrangeas, how they're in full bloom. The same with the purple flowers or cleome. We had a lot of that stuff growing just out back in different areas for, you know, a couple months to make sure it was pretty mature whenever we were getting ready to throw it in the ground. So my crew thought I was crazy when I told them we'd be done, until I started pulling out the construction lights, and they figured, oh, it's going to be a long couple days. That's when you wish you were, you know, that I wished I was hourly. Those guys made all kinds of money those 3 days. That's another picture of that area. This was taken in the next season, but I just wanted to show you kind of a back out shot of what that whole area looks like. And so this was like the next spring after that grand opening. You can see stuff's kind of small and been pruned back, getting ready to start growing. But it was a pretty good size area, and it was pretty fascinating what we did in a short matter of time. Same area. I'm a big blocky color kind of guy, and the reason why is a lot of the landscapes I work on have these massive architectural pieces, you know, surrounding them. So I can't go in with these small little mixed gardens of 20 different plants. I've got to go in and have these big showcases and these big blocks of color. This is another picture of, you know, again, like I said, on Friday afternoon. And this is there, you can see the hydrangeas stuff we had grown. This is that Monday night after the grand opening. Went back out and took some really cool pics. This is in front of the event center. This event center is a 3,000 seat big event center. You can see, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. And again, I know the plants are way too close. We end up moving a lot of stuff over the years, but that's how we design at these big, massive resorts. We're very fortunate at this casino to have this natural, we call it a creek. Some people call it a river. Some people call it, you know, not much more than a drip of water. But this is Soko Creek that runs right through the middle of our property. On the right side are the hotels and some restaurants. On the left side is a casino. And you guys can kind of see the sky bridge there in the middle. And, you know, this is just an amazing natural feature. We did have a lot of flooding over the time. So you can see as we came back and built these terraced landscape, these big terrace walls. And, you know, I really wanted people to be able to get down to the creek and experience. Cherokee is known for having some of the best trout fishing in America. And so, you know, it was important to me to make sure that this creek was still accessible to people that are coming to Cherokee to fish, just because I think that's pretty cool. You know, people can come in here, they can enjoy the outdoors, they can go inside and they can gamble, do whatever they want to do. But, you know, most casinos, they want you inside the doors and not coming out. We don't have that mentality at Cherokee. We want our customers outdoors. We're in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We want them to experience everything we have on the reservation and within, you know, our natural surroundings. Yeah, we want you to go in and game and have a great time and spend a lot of money, but we want to share what we get to live in every day. And you know, as I go back through these pictures, I realize, you know, I'm right across the street from this creek right now. I mean, I'm within 50 yards of this creek. And I bet I have not seen it and seen this view in 4 months. And, you know, I kind of kick myself as I sit here recording this video. It's like, that's right across the street from me. Why am I not walking over there and seeing it? But, you know, if you're around something every day, I guess you slowly start taking it for granted. But very fortunate to live in a beautiful part of the country, and hopefully you guys can come down and visit us. This is along that creek. This is the Riverwalk. This is actually the Proven Winners Signature Garden at Harris Cherokee Casino. And again, you guys can see my design style. I'm a big blocky color kind of guy. And I have to admit, I have an issue. I have a problem. That's the first sign, right, of recovery, is admitting it. I love Dusty Miller. That's my plant. If you don't know what Dusty Miller is, it's Artemisia. It's this white band you see here on the bottom. It is my favorite plant. And I do use it sometimes, maybe a little too much, but I just love this plant. It's great. It performs well. It really outlines a bed and gives that pop of color. Just a great plant to use. I love how the begonias, you know, pop off of it. It's just, Dusty Miller is awesome. You're probably going to hear me say that a few more times during this presentation. But again, this is the Riverwalk. A lot of people get out here, and that woman's probably going to flick that cigarette over into mulch. Oh, people. This again, another picture of that Riverwalk. You said Dusty Miller, can't you? Popping off the concrete. But you know, whenever I design these landscapes, I really like to think about the layering of the landscape. You know, it's that typical old school, you know, landscape design thought. You know, you got foreground, you have midground, you have background, and it's the same with containers all the way up to landscape beds. And so that's really what I'm thinking about as I'm laying this stuff out. And then in a resort like this, you know, we do spend a lot of money on annual flowers. So I want to make sure whenever I'm planting those shrubs and trees that I'm giving myself, you know, spots to also layer the annuals, not just put in, you know, just the Dusty Miller. I want to be able to put in the begonias and some other stuff. So as you can kind of see that there, along with the sweet potato vine and the bubblegum petunias over here to the right. Look at that Dusty Miller. Is that not a sexy plant? I mean, come on, it's awesome. Look at it. It's amazing. I hope you guys use Dusty Miller. I swore before I gave these talks I should go buy stock in Dusty Miller somehow, because I think I can get some people excited about it, because it's an amazing plant. But one thing I like to do too, whenever I'm thinking about annuals, and Proven Winners has some amazing plants, because you can do this because you can count on them to grow and perform the way they're supposed to perform. So again, this is the Dusty Miller, the Silver Cascade Artemisia, and then you've got, you know, all these begonias. But you know, I wanted a little more out of this annual display. So what we did is, this is Rockin' the Blue Salvia. So I like to take this salvia, or you can use Angelonia or Cleome, just something that's got kind of spikes and kind of shoots up and then has a flower, and just pack it in with that big massing of those plants. So as you go through and you plant all the begonias, and then you get, you know, quite a bit of this, whatever this plant you want to use. Again, this is salvia, and just start popping it in. And you want it, the spacing, it doesn't have to be as tight and doesn't have to be as uniform as the begonias. So you can kind of get random with it. But that just pop of color and that just kind of spike shooting up through the you know, that kind of carpet of begonias just really gives a nice touch. I really like to do that. You're going to see that it's kind of becomes a theme through a lot of the design work that I do. You know, again, this is a year that I didn't do this. All these pictures are taken over about 10 years. So I've got, you know, I did this design. This was, I don't know, say 2013 or something, all that Dusty Miller and the begonias. But then you can see, okay, 5 or 6 years later, I want to do this kind of concept again, but I'm going to add that salvia in. So both look really good. I mean, I really like this composition. But when you throw that salvia in, you get those spikes of colors coming in. That's a pretty cool effect that you can create. These are all Limelight Hydrangeas, another great Proven Winner plant. I am a Proven Winner certified landscape professional, and I've designed multiple Proven Winners signature gardens and trails. You know, a lot of people ask, well, why Proven Winners? You know, why did you get in with Proven Winners? And to be perfectly honest with you, when I had this job at the casino, I had so much responsibility and I had so many people. And one year I didn't have time to worry about how plants were going to perform. I needed to know. We were spending a lot of money on annuals every year. I mean, this is, you know, mid 6 figures that we're spending on plants every year. I had to know when those plants came in, they were going to be full. They were going to perform the way they said they were going to do, and they were going to be really resilient throughout the year, because some of them are going to take some abuse. It's like these people here standing here checking out the Limelights. They love them, but you know, Limelight's one of those things. They start getting heavy. They start, you know, they get these really big blooms. People cannot help but touch them, which, you know, the blooms start dying off and they want to break them off. But still, that plant continues to be resilient through the growing season, you know, and stays strong. Same with the annuals. There's going to be people stepping in them, walking through them, picking them, that kind of thing. Proven Winners plants have always done me right, and I've never had to worry about getting a plant that's not going to perform. And that's how my relationship started with Proven Winners. I decided early on that, you know, I'm going to spend a lot of money on plants, and we're going to buy the best plants we can, because this resort deserves it, and our customers deserve it. I like to show this picture because we always, everybody's got those plants that do something that you never really expected. So this was a year, that same area, the Riverwalk, but these are tardiva hydrangeas. So we switch out shrubs and that thing too. Great shrub here. I forget the exact variety, but it's a tardiva hydrangea, tardiva. I'm a redneck from Western North Carolina. So if I say something, you might not say, that's not how you say that. I'm sure you guys are laughing. He's got a funny accent. I never think I have an accent until I leave the South and everybody kind of looks at me funky. So I guess I do a little bit, but that's okay. Anyway, back to my plant story. I ramble. We had never had good luck with white petunias. We had used petunias in flower beds. We'd used them in containers, all this stuff. And I like white to mix in because it provides that really good contrast and provides a pop. And you don't think white really does that in annuals, but if you use the right ones, Dusty Miller, all petunias, some of the other ones, Elysiums, they really can provide a really cool pop and a contrast against all the dark colors in the landscape. So on this year, we were going to have a big 4th of July celebration. Everybody had been planning for it. The casino had been planning for it for months. So I decided, okay, I'm going to create this big display of, red, white, and blue. I know these are royal velvet purple petunias, but hey, beggars can't be choosers with blue. There's not many blue flowers in the landscape. So, but anyway, we were going to make a big red, white, and blue display. So I'm like, well, we'll get, some white petunias and just pop them in there and you'll get color, because they never really perform for us that well. But the red ones and the royal velvets, they'll really pop. As you can see, the white ones took over. They just like exploded. They took over. So it's like you go back and you're like, they've never done well for us anywhere else, but on the Riverwalk, apparently white plants do really well. And again, when I was talking about Prairie Winters, this is a typical event on the Riverwalk at Cherokee, at the Cherokee Casino. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't typical. This is during the eclipse and whenever that was, 2015, 16. But they do have a lot of events out there in Riverwalk, and a lot of people go out there. And as I mentioned earlier, I use Prairie Winters plants because I have to be resilient. Because look at these people down here on the bottom. What are you doing? Why are you in my flower bed? Like, you know how hard we've worked for those flowers? I realize there's a wall there, but just because there's a wall there doesn't mean you have to sit on that wall, especially when it's in a flower bed. That's the kind of stuff you deal with all the time at these resorts. And I'm sure you guys deal with it in your commercial landscapes and even residential landscapes. People don't realize they can't just walk over the flowers and expect them to be fine. But so we would always order, about 10% more than we needed for the year. And I had a bunch of beds spread out throughout the back of the property, and we just plant, flowers everywhere and make these nice displays. But all they were replacements, because we knew we were going to use them at some point during the season. Look at that. That's right after that guy got off that wall. Like, just destroyed our flowers. Oh, makes my heart hurt. Gotten all in my Dusty Miller begonias. This is the pool area. We did all this in-house. We did all the schematic design. I laid out all, everything you see here. And then architects came in and finalized the design. And we had a contractor build all the hardscape, but we did all the landscape. A great plant to use is that Cleome you see in the foreground. Love it. Senorita Rosalita Cleome. It's really great. It will shed those flowers, though, if you put it somewhere where people walk by and hit it a lot. So just put it in an area, put it in the, in a bed towards the back, or put it in a container in the center so people aren't brushing over it a lot, so it'll keep those flowers. But that is a great plant to use. You can see we created these fire pits, and we have these big containers all around. I'm going to show you some close-ups of those. So where this pool was built is a pretty tight area. You can see the creek in the upper left, the Riverwalk's back there in the background. But this pool's built kind of near the road. So we had to do some really, layered landscaping, intense landscaping around it to keep sound and keep peeping toms out, so to speak. But we didn't have a lot of room. And at a casino resort, there's a big revenue opportunity on cabanas at pools. And so, the casino rent these cabanas in the middle of the week for anywhere from, $200 to $500, for half a day. And on weekends, they're going for $500 to $1,000 for half a day rentals. So when somebody's paying that much, these cabanas also have TVs, fans, and heaters in them. I don't understand, if I need a heater, why do I want to be out at the swimming pool? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If you're paying that much for these cabanas, you want to have your own kind of separate area. So how we created that in this tight area was to put these big planters, and you can see how they go up through here. But it's easier said than done with containers. This is one season. Sometimes we get a little carried away and let this stuff just kind of get huge and wild just because it looks awesome. Again, that's the Senorita Rosalita Cleome you see there on the right side of the grass. All that grass, that's a mix of purple fountain grass and vertigo. I forget the name, vertigo something. But you got a lot of begonias in there, sweet potato vine trailing over, and the bubblegum petunias. But why I show this picture, how do you water all this stuff? So we had to get pretty creative. And so what I did is, as we were laying out the hardscape and the concrete, I had our guys come out there, and we laid all this out with survey equipment and put catch basins. Like, you go to Lowe's and buy a 6-inch catch basin. So under every planter you see, there's a 6-inch catch basin with a grill on it. And they go out 6-inch pipe and they run out the other side of the concrete. Through that, backwards, we would run the irrigation pipe back up through that 6-inch pipe, up through the catch basin and into the planters. So the catch basin serving dual purposes for that planter. It's serving as the drainage location, so all the water can drain out and not get on the concrete, and it can go out and get into the landscape. And that catch basin and pipe is serving as the sleeve for our irrigation pipes. So if something ever happens to the irrigation pipes, all we got to do is dig out that end, pull that PVC pipe out, put another piece in, glue it together, and you're done. So it's a pretty cool, innovative solution that feel free to steal. Now, like I said, sometimes I get a little carried away with big plants. Our VP of hospitality could not stand these containers this year because he said he felt like he was walking through a jungle and it was too big. And I told him he was an Irish guy. He was about 70 years old. I said, but Dennis, that's heart of the jungle, colocasia. You are in the jungle. He didn't think that was too humorous, but he let me keep these planters to be that big because I promised him, for the years after that, I wouldn't let them grow that big. But you can see what we do with those containers. We pack them full, just let that stuff grow. Now, I'll tell you what you need to do though. Halfway through the season, what happens in these big containers, and you guys may have had this issue before, is they start kind of thinning out. As the petunias start dragging over and other plants start getting big, you start getting gaps. And so what you've got to do halfway through the year, we'd go through with pruning shears, no joke, big pruning shears, and cut all the petunia, sweet potato vine, coleus, that kind of stuff, and just cut it in half. I mean, kind of give it like a flat top, so to speak. And then that stuff will fill in over the next week or so, and it'll stay big and full all year. This is just another picture of those containers. I'm going to kind of flip through this stuff a little quicker. Areas at the back of the pool, more containers. Another thing that we like to do here is use these big, long, we call them hay racks. These big hanging baskets on the bridges. There's 3 bridges that cross that creek. And what I like to do is put multiple ones together to create a big display. It takes a little effort in the planning stages because you've got to make sure that you're planning everything right. But you can see this is 3 different planters, and then we design it to lay it out. So once they fill in, as you can see here, it looks just like one huge display instead of having multiple small ones. Those Boston daisies on the end do really well. This one has 2, so you can see that. It's pretty neat. I'm going to kind of flip through a lot of this stuff quick because I want to get to some other things. We do a lot of ceramic containers too. And this is how I would design this stuff for these guys. I come in here and this is the whiteboard. I didn't have time to give crazy sketches on paper. It was like, here's what you're going to do, guys. I'm going to sketch this little display out. And this is how it kind of ends up. We use these containers to create these bigger displays. Again, we do this because the architecture of the facility is so big. I'm going to kind of go through this. This is a rendering. This is, I'm also a hotel developer. I'm a partner in a hotel development company. And we are doing the expansion. This is at the casino. We're right in the middle of this expansion. It's a big 725 room hotel expansion and 100,000 square foot convention center. It'll open this October. In Cherokee, right down the road, we've designed a Proven Winners Botanical Trail and mountain bike trail system. And I'm gonna click through this video because I want to make sure I have time to show you guys. That's on my website. Feel free to check it out. So the Cherokee Botanical Trail, this is an old trail at the Native American. We have a village in Cherokee. It's called the Oconaluftee Indian Village, and it's like a living museum. And above it, there's this old trail, this old botanical garden that was built in the 50s that was in disarray. And so we're coming back through, and you can see, I mean, this is kind of it. There's not much there. We're revamping this botanical trail, and it's going to be it's a Proven Winners Botanical Trail. Lots of Proven Winners plants, but also native vegetation and plants that are important to Cherokee. This is an old water feature that's just been, in disarray. You can see the renderings to update that and make it look like it's this naturalistic kind of pond and big wedding lawn area. And then we're creating this kind of skywalk throughout the trees. This will be about, a little over a mile long, and people will be able to walk through anywhere from about 40 to 70 feet up and really get in, in the canopy of the trees. So that's some of the stuff I'm doing in Cherokee at my home. But through Proven Winners and through some other connections, I've been very fortunate to do a couple other resorts in the Southeast. Well, I guess West Virginia is it's in the East. I don't know, it's called Southeast. But anyway, one of my favorite things I get to work on every year is the Greenbrier. The Greenbrier is America's resort. It's located in West Virginia in White Sulphur Springs. It's an amazing place. If you've never heard of it, Google it. If you've never been there, get there. It is just an amazing place. So this is the Greenbrier. It's a 700 room resort. They got multiple golf courses, spa, anything and everything you can think of, Jeep tours, bike tours, hiking trails, sporting clays, multiple restaurants, a bowling alley. They got all kinds of stuff at the Greenbrier. It's an amazing place. And I'm very fortunate to get to design all the annual displays on a yearly basis for the Greenbrier. So I'm going to share some of those. And again, the architecture of this building and the spot, I've got to use huge blocks of color to make a big impact. And you can see, how you can do that with just a few plants. Really love this design. This is many years ago, but we're actually going back with this design this year. So if you get there, it'll be similar to this year. Again, looking in, and hey, you see the white building, but you see that white Dusty Miller too, don't you? It catches your eye. That's what that guy's taking a picture of. I guarantee it. He's like, wow, look at this little white plant. This is an amazing plant. Neat little video we've got here to share with you guys. And I hope the sound works. I hope I did it on Zoom right to share my sound on the video. If it doesn't, the sound's on my website, but I know the video works. Here we go. So as you all saw, all right. So when Curtis, the guy you just saw in that video, Curtis Webb, who has since retired, was the grounds director, he told me as I started designing these beds, he said, Zeke, the hardest thing I have to do is, go out, and we got 240 something beds, is to make sure that my guys are putting plants in the right spot. And so they did a lot of, kind of basic designs, not a lot of angles and that kind of thing, because it was just too hard for Curtis to go out there and lay all these beds out and make sure they were planting them. And, it's, as a landscape architect, I look at plans every day. I look at, all kinds of stuff. And so I know how to read a set of blueprints. I know how to read plans. It just comes second nature at this point. Well, for, a lot of our crew members, they don't understand those plans, and they're not real sure how to read them because they've never been taught correctly, and they're intimidated by them. And what happens also is they don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit it to the boss. They don't want to admit it to their own crew members and their peers that they don't really understand the set of plans. So they just kind of do their own thing. And so what we did for Curtis, and now that we now do at all our resorts, every bed is on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And as you look at this, you're thinking, oh, well, that's pretty basic. This guy's a landscape architect. That's terrible. Because as a landscape architect, I look at this quick little plan. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so bad. That's like, what is that? But this has been the most important thing for these crews. It's 8.5 by 11. They can print it on any printer. They don't need a special printer. They don't need to get it plotted out 24 by 36 and carry it around and put it on the hood of a truck. They can walk in, print this thing out, and go out there, and it gives them measurements. We tell them how many plants need to go there. And then we've got this actual quantity, because I want these guys just to write down how many did they actually use. So I know next year I can go back and look, all right, that bed actually took, 1,000 plants, not 1,100. So it gives us, a lot of data for the future too. But you can see how we do those plans. Again, these are all just 8.5 by 11s. And this has really been beneficial for these crews. This is a picture in another year of the Greenbrier with Impatiens and Limetime Coleus, and of course, Heart of the Jungle right in front of that main entrance. The Proven Winter Signature Garden is in a place at the north entrance at the Greenbrier, and this is the North Garden, also known as the Proven Winter Signature Garden. And this is a pretty neat little garden. It's very formal. I'm going to show you a video. And when I watched this video, I threw that shirt away. I swear the camera adds about 60 pounds. I really don't feel like I'm that chunky, but I guess I am.
Hey, this is Zeke Cooper, a Proven Winter Certified Landscape Professional, and I'm going to show you around one of my favorite gardens I get to design on a yearly basis, and that's the North Garden at the Greenbrier. So this is a Proven Winter Signature Garden, and I want to show you guys what we got in store for you this year. Come on, let's go. Alright, so as you get down in the garden, what's pretty cool about it is the beds are broken up into different areas. The grass that provides this beautiful texture to the garden. It's very formal type design, the beautiful brick pavers, but the beds are what really make this garden shine. There's 4 of these beds around the center island. These beds are going to be filled with Bordeaux and limoncello petunias. Oh, those not awesome. Look at the color on those. Those are beautiful. Whenever you mix those with the Bordeaux, that is just going to pop when they fill out. And so in the center of these beds, what they're getting ready to plant now is super blue Angelonia, super white Angelonia, and Limetime Coleus. So we're going to get those, spires of pop and color with the Angelonia coming out of that beautiful chartreuse Limetime Coleus. These are going to be amazing. As we come on down in the center of the garden, here's the money shot of this garden. It's the big round bed in the middle. And this is one of my favorite areas here because this is what everybody's seeing. When you walk out of the Greenbrier or you walk up from the golf club or the chapel, this is the bed you're going to see first. So at the front of the bed, you got lemon coral sedum all the way around the front that's providing a really beautiful carpet, cool texture, cool color. Right behind it, more Bordeaux super petunias with one of my favorites, Dusty Miller. You guys know I love Dusty Miller. And then we're going to have the Angelonia mix and begonias. And then there's going to be this huge pop of yellow and red canna lilies with coffee cups colocasia in the center of it. That bed is going to be stunning in about 4 to 6 weeks. We'll be sure to give you guys an update and show you how it fills out.
Like I said, I think I'm going to go dig that shirt out of the trash and probably burn it. Anyway, this is, as I was talking about in that video, the money shot when you walk out of the north entrance at the Greenbrier, this is what you're looking at. So, we want to create those really big displays. Man, that Dusty Miller. Now I look at it, I've already designed these beds for this year. I think I'm going to go back. I wonder if it's too late to change my plant order. I got to get some more Dusty Miller in those beds. I forget how good it looks. Another plant I really like to use around the front. This is Bewitched Green with Envy Sweet Potato Vine. And now, sweet potato vine does spread, but Bewitched stays really full. It's a really great plant, really big pop of color, and just it always does really well. This is the bed actually from that video, and you can see it kind of starting to fill in. The lemon coral around the front, the royal velvet and the Dusty Miller popping in there. The white spikes, that is all Angelonia, super white and super blue over here to the left. And these toucan series of proven winners canna lilies are one of my favorites. They do really great and they really perform. I mean, this is probably, I would say 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks after we did that video, and you can see all this stuff's really, really filling in. This is a previous year, obviously. Check out that sweet potato vine, how thick it gets. Now, yeah, you've got to come back and you've got to edge it up to make sure it doesn't get in the walkway, but it just fills up a big space really quick with not a lot of plants and creates a really cool feature for the garden. Lemon coral does the same thing. This is lemon coral sedum. Again, there's some of the salvia and begonia mix. This is the bed. If we've got any golfers, on here, this is the bed. Whenever you watch the Greenbrier Classic, right in front of the clubhouse, they'd always show this bed. They've got this really big, metal G and white sand, and this is the design for it 1 year. And then you can see how that ended up. Again, I like these big blocks of colors. Here's more of those toucan canna lilies. Look at that Dusty Miller and lemon coral. Man, that looks good. And then just a big bed of begonias. Close up of that bed area. This is the first tee up here on top. So, everybody's teeing off and walking down to get onto the course from up here. Here's another thing that happens a lot as we're talking about it. Sometimes plants really perform. I start looking at, online as I'm designing stuff and plants. I'm like, I want to use a lot of this super blue Angelonia. It's a really cool plant. But it says it can get, 48 inches tall. And I'm like, there's no way that Angelonia, this is the first year I'd ever used it. I'm like, that Angelonia is never going to get that tall. There's no way. So I put Limetime Coleus behind it. You can see that super blue Angelonia gets that tall, but it's a great plant to use. This is in another garden. Again, this is the Prime West garden, just those big pops of color, just one simple plant. You don't have to pile in 1,000 different plants to create cool things. This is an area that there was nothing behind these boxwoods. We threw in like 5 hydrangeas, and look what it did in one season. These New Guinea Impatiens is the Infinity Series and Proven Winners. If you want an amazing plant, if you want to use an amazing plant, this has to be on your list. Infinity Series and New Guinea Impatiens, any color, are awesome. They perform, they fill in, they'll take the sun, they'll take the shade, they'll take a little water, they'll take a lot of water. This is an amazing plant. Put it on your list. Just some other containers we use there. And I know I'm running out of time. I hope I've kept you guys entertained. So I'm going to click through this video real quick. Again, it's on my website. Another thing we were doing at the Greenbrier is, 2 different botanical trails. This is one on the golf course down along the creek. It should be complete the next year or so. And it's just a massive area where we use a lot of different shrubs and stuff along the walking trail. Another one is a master plan. This is a master plan up through the woods, through the reservoir trail that we'll use some native plants. And the last resort I'm going to talk about today that I'm fortunate enough to get to do is the Pinehurst Resort, and obviously in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Pinehurst is another, old southern resort, lots of golf courses, spa, lots of different things. And I'm very fortunate to help them out with their annual beds. This is a few years ago. We changed these up. This is on an entry road. A lot of the same plants that we've used. And what happens in these years is, I'll use some plants, 1 year at one property, and then I'll kind of switch them and do them at the next property. But I really like to keep these resorts separate from what I'm doing. But I've got a list of about 25 to 30 plants that I know perform. And these guys and gals at these resorts are trusting me to specify plants that'll perform because they got a lot of money, that they're putting in this stuff. So a lot of my designs will, I've got, like I said, about a core of about 30, maybe 30 to 40 plants that I use a lot. And I always try to throw in one of Proven Winner's newest varieties, or, a couple of those the first year, and kind of sample them out. We're working on making this area a Proven Winner's signature garden. Some annuals at the back of this, I'm going to show you a couple pictures. You can see this is a big event lawn they use for weddings. But we're coming in back in. We've got a big plan to really shrub that area up with all these different massings of shrubs to make this a pretty remarkable backdrop for any events. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is how I design. And this is the way I learned at being at the casino, is I design in reverse. It's like, well, Zeke, what do you mean? Like, how do you design in reverse? Well, again, guys, remember, I was responsible for the maintenance of this huge property. That made me a better designer. So now whenever I go in to a landscape, the first thing I'm asking people is, how are you going to maintain it? I don't want to hear about what you want. I don't want to hear about who's going to build it. I want to hear, what are the client's expectations long-term for maintenance? Are they prepared to spend monthly money? Do they have a budget? Who's going to take care of it? Are they going to do it themselves? Are they going to hire somebody? I want to know all of those things before I ever talk about design. That's the first thing I'm talking to about a client. And, I want to make sure they're prepared for that investment, because that's going to help me design something that's successful. I can design anything you want me to design. You all that are designers can design all these amazing designs. But if it's not maintained properly, we fail as a designer. So that's the most important thing we can do right from the beginning. I go through kind of a maintenance checklist with a client. This is before I've ever talked about design. This is the first thing I'm looking at. And I also want to know if they've got somebody they like to use, what are they good at? Then I go to construction. I do the same thing in construction. What kind of materials are my availabilities in this area? Who are my good contractors? Do they have somebody they want to use? Do they not care? If the contractors in the area aren't good at brick and masonry walls, I need to specify a wall in that landscape they're good at. So I take a lot of time with the contractors in the area that are going to bid the project or build the project to find out what they're good at, because I need them to succeed so they successfully install the landscape I design. Again, I got a kind of a checklist for that. Then I design the landscape. Then I get into the design. So, guys, that's everything I have for you today. I hope it's been entertaining. Thank you, Cape Cod Landscape Association, for having me. Thank all of you guys for listening to me for the last 47 minutes online on a Zoom call. I know we're all tired of Zoom, and we're all tired of being in our offices, and hopefully everything gets back to normal. Again, ZekeCooper.com. It's got all my contact info. If you have any questions from this talk, if you need any advice, anything, I'm here. Feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you, Proven Winners. Thank you, Cape Cod Landscape Association. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.